Thank you for joining us on Sheridan County Ag Update. Today I have with me Zane Garstead with the Sheridan WYO Rodeo. Zane, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
You bet. Let's get WYO'd.
Absolutely.
It's that time of year.
It is. It's coming fast.
It is. Yeah. So let's talk rodeo. It's happening. It's
where do we
exciting.
start? Wow, it's there's so much. Actually, there are a lot of new things that we're going to do this year.
Okay.
Which is really exciting. First of all, during the performance, we're going to have, before each event, a short clip on the Jumbotron, which gives people like a tutorial on the event, the rules of the event, how they judge, that kind of thing. We call it Rodeo 101.
Okay.
And Sheridan Motors is going to be our sponsor for that particular. I'm sorry, not Sheridan Motors, but Sheridan College, because we'll be educating people about the events. So that's exciting. And then after each event, the event leader for that night will have contestant interviews. There'll be short interviews, kind of like if anyone watches the Cowboy Channel, they do that regularly. And it's just kind of cool for people to hear from the actual contestant and kind of get their, short view of their run or their ride or whatever. So that's going to be exciting. That is sponsored also by Sheridan Motors. And so that's exciting. We also are doing something to incorporate the youth in our community. And so many of the rodeos now, again, if you watch the Cowboy Channel, they have mutton busting. And there's too much mutton busting. And that's only my personal view on that. But
yes, there's a lot of it.
There is a lot. Yeah.
And WYO has always been great about bringing something new in, like the wild pony races and those sorts of things.
Yeah. So this year, which incorporates the youth groups that are involved here in the community, the Best of the Rest Steer Riders, that's a group that was started by Joe Smith and Casey Townsley, and I'm not going to remember all their names, but they do an awesome job. So they've really developed the Steer Riders, which is really a stepping stone for rough stock riders. And so they're going to have 2 steer riders each night ride.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and they'll be judged, and first and second, they win money if they, each night. So there's a first and second prize. They're going to even have buckles that will be available. And then at the end of the barrel race, we'll have 2 young barrel racers race each night.
Oh, okay.
And they are qualified through the Family Fun Equine Series that Gary and Sarah Medford have created, which is, I have to say, an awesome thing for youth development in our community. So we have some really special groups that are doing that, which, the sport doesn't survive unless you're out recruiting and creating more victims, as we call them. So anyone that gets hooked on it, it's great. So we want to do that when they're young, and develop them. And it actually is, your sport doesn't survive unless you've got a good development program. In Sheridan, we are so fortunate that we have groups like Gary's group and the Best of the Rest Steer Riders and the junior and junior high rodeo associations and groups. The college program, the Cowgirls, the county rodeo, all of those groups help to provide development opportunities for our youth, and also some of them incorporate adults. So it gets to be families, and so it's just not the kids participating, but families as well. So that's a great thing that we have in our community, and I'm going to plug it, but our partnership with Sheridan College and that Sheridan College Agri-Park is a huge impact on that, because
yes, definitely,
because there's room for and time that those groups can practice when it's winter, and they get to develop their skills throughout the year, which again helps them to progress faster. And I'm going to keep plugging now because you got me on the show, Liz. You invited me.
I know. I know.
But I do want to say a big thank you to Dan and Kathy Riggs.
Yes.
And C&K Equipment. they have donated to the arena. So all the youth groups that participate or use the facility at the Agri Park are scholarship free of charge. So huge shout out to those folks. So again, it's just so great that we have a community that wants to work together. And whenever you're talking about youth, people are all about it. Thank goodness.
Yes. Well, and I want to say a personal thank you to the WYO Rodeo Board for helping us to support our Battle of the Bighorns Jackpot show. And the fact that you guys don't just support youth in rodeo, but it's youth in ag completely. Yeah. I mean, you guys come to the youth livestock sale, help take bids. I mean, you guys do a lot of things for all the ag kids, not just the rodeo kids. So a personal thank you from us.
Thank you,
yes.
Liz. We appreciate it.
Yes.
It's, it's important that our kids are doing something positive and that they are developing, because we all know a lot of spare time gets people in trouble, me included. So what we can do to keep kids busy and doing positive things, whether that be rodeo or livestock judging or baseball or basketball, hockey. Well, I was going to hockey, you know that. But any of those things, it's really, really important that we do that. And again, our community is awesome in all aspects about that and about the support that people provide to the entire community. And I'm so happy that we live here.
Yes. Well, kind of segueing into that, the sponsors, the volunteers that you guys get for the WYO, is being involved with that for quite a few years is it's a huge undertaking and a huge endeavor, but so thankful that those people are willing to step out there and help, and either their time or their donation, or it's truly a community effort.
Absolutely. I think that's what makes the rodeo so popular, is that it's owned by the community. It's not just like our rodeo board that cares. Everybody cares. Everybody's taken ownership in the event, and it's our community rodeo. It's our rodeo, not someone else's. It's ours, and people treat it like that. And I think, maybe it's repeating it, but when people come back, many times they don't come back for Thanksgiving or Christmas. They come back for rodeo. What a compliment that is to this community and what happens here.
We had our class reunion during the rodeo because that's when all of our classmates were coming. We all knew that. Yeah. So,
well, and you mentioned the sponsors, and you can't, thank them enough because of the support that we get there. And I don't have a list of all of them. I can go get one, but we have those all listed on our website at www.SheridanWYORodeo.com. So we encourage you to go take a look, and then also support those businesses, because that's very important. But I did want to mention that we want to thank you, Liz, for all the years that you put in with the Wranglers, our flag carriers, who that group started out kind of ragtag.
little rough.
Little rough. But you and Cindy Wolf took the reins on that and really developed that program. And to ride herd on 40 plus women that's a tough job, and keeping everybody in line and motivated and organized. It's a real hats off to you, because especially for me, with working with sponsors and carrying all those flags, that is a very important job. And we thank you for the professionalism and all the ways that's developed. And it's become a great group and a great example, and also representatives of the WYO Rodeo.
For sure. Yeah. And Cindy and I were really lucky to have a great board around us as well, with all the support. Our husbands, the Liver Strong cooking team, who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But I mean, it took a village, and these ladies who've now continued on with the board, we had Dee Dee on. I think they're going to do a great job. And when you go to the rodeo, know that these ladies have practiced all year long. This is not just, let's just run and grab a flag and go. I mean, this is a year-long commitment and practice.
Absolutely.
And I'm always amazed at the amount of ladies who every year return because of the friendships they've made, the part that they get to play in the rodeo. Just like you said, the community, it's their rodeo too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, better than anyone, but I think, what was the youngest?
9.
9. And then the oldest was?
63.
That is cool. That range, and to have that many people involved, that's a real feather in your cap as well. So Lexi and Dee Dee, and I'm going to forget Holly, and
Allie.
don't hang me after this show. But you know what I'm saying. I think it's just really important. We thank all those people for their time and commitment. And as you said, not only the girls are giving that time, but the leaders and the board, they're putting in more time because they're, organizing and structuring the practices and what have you. So again, hats off to the Wranglers. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And when you see the Heartland Kubota trailer over there, that's the Wranglers camp over there in that north end. So, and thank you to Heartland Kubota for being a great sponsor. And they always have been wonderful about helping us out. And we appreciated that for all those years.
Yeah.
Quality Kubota machinery and customer care from the heart. Proudly serving Sheridan and the surrounding areas since 1996. Go online to heartlandkubota.com or stop by Heartland Kubota, 2450 Heartland Drive.
Well, again, we just have, I think my last count is about 60, 65 plus sponsors. And then, of course, our posse group, which makes up a major sponsor. It's kind of like a chamber membership where you pay like a $250 fee per year. But that there's about 100 businesses in that. So if you've got a smaller budget, you can still support the rodeo. And if you have a little bit larger budget, we can help you with that as well.
Well, and there's usually, if I'm correct, there's 40, give or take, 40 flags that fly in the arena every day with those. And those that you just talked about, the posse, they have their own flags. So that encompasses all those members of part of the posse.
That's right. I think this year our count at this present time is 42. And they don't like it when I go find a new sponsor.
No, we don't.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's...
we got to find one more rider and one more horse to fill that.
Right. Yeah. And folks, you need to know that a lot of times they say, that's enough, Zane. Stop doing that. So.
Well, we one year told him and Spider-Man were going to have to carry.
And Spider-Man didn't like flags much.
No.
Yeah.
He was just happy to be in the arena and follow a cow, and that was about his...
That's for sure.
Yeah. So... I just had Wade Sankey on talking about the Rodeo Stock Stars Tour. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Wow. Wade and Matt Sharping have done a phenomenal job. Let's go back because Sankey Rodeo Company, when Ike came and his family, Wade was pretty young then, but back in 94, so 30 years pretty much.
Thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm 60 now, so what the heck, right?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
So, but they changed our rodeo. They brought us to a whole different level. And how that evolved is that we really needed to work on the rodeo at that time because it really needed to improve and better stock and so forth. So as that improved and as that kind of took on the improvement, it gave us more time to think about other things, right? So you got to take care of the foundation. And then as soon as that really started to build, then we started looking around and say, okay, now where else do we need to improve? And that has, because of them, that's a huge factor of why we're here where we're at today. And then I think the other thing that another huge impact was the Gold Buckle Club. And Doug Meyer went to Ellensburg, Washington, to the rodeo there. They had a Gold Buckle Club. He basically stole the idea of
R&D,
awesome.
Rip off and duplicate.
Exactly. And our Gold Buckle Club, thanks to Troy Baker, Steve Kraft, again, all the board members, they're going to string me up for not mentioning everybody, but you Gold Buckle board, you know who you are. We appreciate those guys run a tip-top ship. I mean, it is first class. We have people come from across the United States, committees, rodeo committees, come and look at the Gold Buckle Club because they are the example for everyone. So that's really exciting, which basically is our rodeo booster club. And so that was a major factor as well. And the third one was M&M's, Master Food, when Forrest Mars moved here, and he met with us, and I do remember this. It was a luncheon date with Forrest and Tracy Swanson and Billy Kraft and I, and Forrest said, "Well, I can just write you a check, or I can write you a check and help you grow your rodeo." So I mean, we're kind of country hicks, kind of dumb cowboys, but we're like, oh, we want to grow too, right?
Yeah.
And that relationship lasted some 20 years, and we're still involved today. But what they did is not only, I think when we added it up over the years, they probably contributed over $1 million to the rodeo. And that doesn't count what Forrest did in this community, which is such a great thing. So
Yes.
We could talk about that in an entire show. But what they also brought to us was credibility. And so when we first would go to committee conventions and those kind of things, we're just from Sheridan, and we're just kind of the normal run-of-the-mill people until we got M&Ms on our collar of our shirt, and everyone went, "Is that really M&Ms?" And we said, "Yes, it is." And they said, "Could we get his contact information?" And we said, "No, you can't."
But you can go find your own.
Yes, correct. So, I mean, and that was a lot. Let's just face it, be dumb luck that he moved here and took us under his wing. And they also really taught us a lot about marketing and promotion and pricing and so what they've contributed to our community and to the rodeo are just unbelievable.
Well, and you and I've talked about it in the past. I grew up behind the chutes here.
Yeah.
You were in Calgary.
Yeah.
Those rodeos have changed and evolved so much over the years from when we were younger and our dads and granddads were competing at these rodeos to now. Now it's a business. It's not just a rodeo and we're here to watch the rodeo and then we go home. It's an event and it's become a business. And it's been interesting and fun to watch it. It was hard for that change from growing up. It was hard to make that change. But when you really see the benefits it brings to the community, it really makes you appreciate the change.
Right. And that's a fine line dance that we all have to navigate, because I think our niche, we as the Sheridan WYO Rodeo, we want to be a big, small town rodeo. That's our identity. We're not Cheyenne Frontier Days. We're not Houston. We're not Calgary, nor do we want to be, because that's just, there already is one. So we would just want to be Sheridan WYO Rodeo. But we still want to grow, and we still want to have the best entertainment possible. So it's a dance. And so there's a fine line, and you don't want to get too commercial, which I don't think we are. I mean, I think we're trying to do a good job of just staying in those parameters. And it's just like the sponsors. We have a huge list, a wait list of sponsors, which is really awesome, right? But we're not just going to create 20 different levels of sponsorship, because you just water down your product and you water down your exposure. So it's really important to us that the sponsors get great exposure. And it's not, I hope that they would agree, but it's not about what they're doing for us. It's about what we're trying to do for them to provide exposure, the best exposure possible to, I think, the biggest event in our community.
Cowboy State Bank, helping farmers, ranchers, and the ag community succeed for over 100 years.
Well, and bringing it all back, the fact that you've got a great stock contractor.
Oh, yeah.
You have you have the world champions coming here to rope and to ride. Obviously, something's going right with the business model that you guys are following. So it's all coming and working together, and it's made for a great 4 days of rodeo.
Yeah. You know what else it is? I think our community is one of the most hospitable, friendly, welcoming communities. I'm going to digress just for a second, but when I'm from Alberta originally, and I went to college here. And the first day I walked down the hall at the college, people looked me in the eye and smiled and said hello. Everyone. And I was like, wow, this is great, right? I mean, this is the place where I want to be. And I think that we really try to mirror that with people that come to the rodeo. Not only the people that are buying the tickets, but the contract people, like you just said, like Sankey's and Matt Sharpling, and your pickup men and your secretaries and bullfighters and all those people that people really don't know they're there, which is good because a lot of times, like pickup men, you want them to be invisible because if they're not invisible, something's probably going wrong. So,
well, and we have the greatest pickup men ever, I think, because one year we had just one little small wreck with the Wranglers, and they had the horse picked up and out of the arena with that flag before even the last 20 girls coming in the arena didn't even know what had happened. They were so quick and out of there. And we are very lucky to have the contract personnel that we did.
By far, yes. And, our volunteers. Like, again, that does not happen without a lot of people involved behind the scenes. And, you see the people working in the arena, Mike Albright and Gary Medford opening gates, and they untie calves and steers. Keith Brandt and Sam on the out gate, the catch pen gate at the end, in the north end of the arena. I'm going to forget somebody. Tom Wood opening the timed event shoot, and he's done that for 120 years maybe. I hope he's listening.
I hope he is too, and that he charges you more for that. Yes.
No, but and then Nick and Patty Kaywood, that they sort stock for the performances. The FFA kids are absolutely awesome. That is probably, just in my little world, that is probably the best youth organization I've ever seen. Those kids. So what happens? They come on Tuesday to help us with the steer roping slack, and then from Wednesday to Saturday they help us with the slack events. There's steer wrestling, tie down roping, team roping, and breakaway roping. So they sort and load all the cattle, and I mean, there might be one mistake, maybe, but probably not. And they do such a good job. And the contestants recognize that, and everyone, is just so thankful that we have that group that helps out. So thanks to their advisors and everyone. So everyone is contributing a little, to the whole thing, and that's what it takes to make this thing work. So,
well, you can't have WYO Rodeo without the world champion Indian relay racers either, and they are probably the crowd favorite, honestly.
Absolutely,
they are.
You
sit back there and you listen, and normally we miss the first couple races because we're getting flags put away and all that kind of stuff. But it's always fun to watch the relay racers. It's always fun.
It's actually, that event put us on the map. Really, I mean, it just makes us more unique than any other rodeo. Thank goodness. And you're right. We all know that. Like, we all know how important that is to the fan base. And I'll bet, Liz, there's a lot of people that come and watch the relay race, then they probably leave. I don't know, but I bet there are people that do that. And I just want to say this, that, we talk about ticket prices and we talk about that. And, each year we see an increase in our ticket prices. But if you think about it, you get 2 professional shows in one night, because you could just run the Indian relay races on their own.
Well, that's happening right at Crow Fair, Crow Native Days. I mean, they just have Indian relay race. So
and then you get a professional rodeo on top of that. So I think that the value for your money is very good. But again, back to the Indian relay races. I mean, they're so exciting and dangerous. I think that's why everybody loves it. And, there's board members. We're out there. We try to keep as much traffic out of the arena. And quite honestly, I would rather not be in the arena because you can get ran over pretty quick. Because you don't know a lot of times where horses are coming from. Because sometimes, you know, they lose a rider and they've gone down the track and then they may come back the other way. Or so you've got to be on your toes at all times. But people love it.
Well, and speaking of that, there has been a few accidents over the years that have happened. We have such great vets here that they are. I mean, these veterinarians are right there on scene and take care of those horses immediately. So
absolutely,
we are so fortunate.
Yeah, and all the events, the rodeo
Absolutely.
events, and that has a lot to do with Sarah Schreiber. And for years, I worked with Sarah to kind of organize that, and then she joined our committee, and I was like, oh, awesome! Now she's just going to do it all. So, which she does, and they do an awesome job. And people need to know, even with that, we rehearse. Like, we come up with scenarios that we practice and we rehearse before the rodeo so that we know in this certain situation, this is what we need to do. And that's paid off well for us all because, you know, we've been able to take care of the animals in an appropriate and quick manner. And for that matter, even contestants, the human ones, and thank goodness for, you know, the ambulance services and Justin Sports Medicine, who's there. So we hopefully have all the athletes covered.
Yes.
So
yes. What else do you want to talk about?
my
I mean, we
gosh.
could go on forever.
I know.
but-
I love your questions because I keep, you know, there's so many things you could talk about.
I love having someone on the show that is so passionate about what they do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That it makes it easy and it makes it fun. And the fact that you and I both grew up with rodeo, it's easy to talk about. It just
Oh yeah, it's just a part of our DNA, right?
yeah, I mean, I don't think there was a day that went by that there wasn't something rodeo related talked about at our table. I mean, and I mean, I'm sure your house was just like our house. The amount of guys that came and stayed there and always came and visited Dad, and it was always fun, and it's nostalgic for me.
Oh, of course. I mean, I have to tell you that it's as a contestant, it's really fun to be to rodeo, and when I was a contestant, I rode here quite a few times, and I remember one year I was coaching at the college, and I was rodeoing, and that crowd was like amazing. I mean, it just kind of chokes me up thinking about because it was so loud. Like you could, I was riding and I could always hear stuff. It was a roar, and that's kind of hard to beat, right? Except now as a committee person, you know, on Saturday night, whatever night it is, but especially Saturday night, and the crowd is going nuts, and they're having a great time. That makes it worth it, right?
Yep.
So, sorry,
I can
gets to me.
I
right?
can remember when Dad would rope and they would announce.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
How the hometown crowd, even if they didn't personally know him, but he was from Sheridan. So they announced you're from Sheridan, the crowd goes wild. And so it was always pretty cool.
So is this the first show that both the people are going to cry when they're on the...
Could be. It's all right. We'll move on.
But you said it's we're passionate about it. And you know what's going to be really exciting is when those steer riders and those young barrel racers run, wait till that crowd...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be so cool.
Absolutely.
So cool.
We also we kind of talked about the pickup men, but we have some great bullfighters that come here. We also have JJ Harrison, who always entertains the crowd.
Yeah.
And the kids love JJ because he likes to throw footballs. And, you know, we would yell at him when he would throw it at the flag girls. And we might have taken him out back a couple times and roughed him up, but he's fine.
Yeah. Well, JJ's great, and I think what we like about him is that he engages the crowd, and he's not just like some clown act. He's in the crowd, and that the football thing is just to get people engaged, and I think that's a real special thing. And he's such a great guy. He's a total spaz. He's probably more of a spaz than me, if that's possible. But
I spent a little time around him. Yes.
yeah,
he
yeah,
is.
he's wound up. And then Nate Justice and Joe Butler, the bullfighters, they've done a great job. Nate's fought at the NFR a few times. Our specialty act is Piper Ewell. She'll be back. She's the young gal from Alberta, and she's very talented. And she's won all kinds of awards already, and been recognized as a real great performer. And I have to tell this story because I was so jacked up about it. They interviewed her on the Cowboy Channel, and they asked her, what her favorite rodeos were. And I think she said, well, Pendleton was number 1, but Sheridan was number 2, and Cheyenne was number 3. And I think there was a rodeo in Strathmore, Alberta that was number 4. So we made it number 2 over Cheyenne.
Well, I was going to say, you're behind Pendleton.
Pendleton's,
you can't complain.
Wow, Pendleton is that rodeo's an icon rodeo for sure. So, and that's the other thing that the contestants like to come here. And again, it's because we're welcoming and we thank them for coming. And Casey Field, I got a great story about him. He said he's a 6-time world champion bareback rider, a world record now. But he and his family hunted here in previous years, so he's got a background here. But he said, I'm not going to say the other town, but he said, I enter this town, but I get to come to Sheridan. So what's that say? So yeah, it's cool. I mean, yeah, I'm getting choked up again. Way to go. Thanks, Liz.
You bet. Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime I can do that. I don't mind at all.
Will Rasmussen. He's another one. He's a great announcer, been with us for years, back to even the Indian Relay and Kennard Reelbird. He's an icon, actually. He is so well known. Even we didn't get to go deep into that, but the Indian Relay is known everywhere. So it's not just spectators. The Cowboys love the Indian Relay. The world stops when the Indian Relay is on. Even with the judges come from all over the place. So the pro rodeo judges are assigned to our rodeo, and the guys that have been here, of course, they love it. But the new guys, it's always fun to see what their reaction is, and it's great. But like, I remember one year I saw like world champions, like really hero type guys.
The Fred Whitfields of the world.
And Speed Williams and Rich Skelton, all these guys, these world champions, and they're just like a little kid, just like the rest of us, excited to watch the Indian Relay race. And that's a real feather in that cap as well. And a lot of that has to do with Kennard's announcing and
his candor.
His candor. So he's really good if you're a spectator. Sometimes it's not great if you're the president of the rodeo committee. I went through that where a couple performances the next day, I got phone calls and emails and such. But he is very entertaining, and what I like about him is that he's just trying to be entertaining.
Making plans for building a new barn, shop, or commercial building? Don't do any planning without a call to Sheridan's premier post-frame building and homes builder, True Built Builders, online at truebuiltbuilders.com.
He means nothing by some of his comments and his jokes.
He's just trying to say, and even one year I heard him say, you guys need to lighten up. This is not, we're having fun. So let's have fun, right? And I think that's really important. So we're glad he's back.
To some extent, in this world of political correctness, it's kind of fun to just have the guy who doesn't care, and he's just there to have fun and entertain. Yeah. And you can't take Kennard seriously sometimes. You just have to roll with and know it's a joke, and he's having fun, and he's poking fun at himself and his own people, and he doesn't mean anything by it.
Right. He's just being entertained.
He is. I remember one year on Facebook, there was someone had posted a video of the Indian relay, and everybody's favorite part. Sorry, Will. Everybody's favorite part was Kennard, you know? And,
right.
I mean, Will Rasmussen's a great announcer, but
absolutely
they didn't quite give the kudos to Will that they did to Kennard. So.
Right. Yeah, well, it's an exciting thing. He makes it exciting. He, that guy, sometimes it's quite funny. Last year, the very first year we did the Cowboy Channel, the very first performance, he said some pretty colorful things, and we were down in the arena floor. It was between races, and I don't know who I was standing with, but I said, "Ooh, Cowboy Channel's going to really like that." And the next day, they tape delayed the Indian relay race, but then Patrick Gotch, who runs the Cowboy Channel, he got after him for doing that, and so they put it back live. So pretty cool.
Well, we probably are going to have to wrap this up, but Zane,
that's too bad.
I know. Well, we could go on for hours,
Yeah,
but I think the production side of it would probably like us to wrap it. But I do want to say another thing that you guys do that I don't know if people realize is the WYO Rodeo Board actually gives a scholarship to seniors for Sheridan County. And, a lot of the kids that I know through 4-H and FFA, my niece was a recipient of it. So, thank you for giving back to the youth.
Absolutely.
Again,
Absolutely.
What you guys do, I think there's a whole lot that people don't realize how much is given back to the community. Yeah.
Well, and I think, Liz, that's why I think it's so important that we have that partnership with the Sheridan College and the Agri Park, because that gives us a vehicle to provide even more support to those folks. And it's exciting that people are doing that. I do want to mention one thing, because Brandy Campbell's going to kill me if I don't talk about the parade.
Oh,
and I
she
don't
might.
blame her, so I had to save myself on that one. But that's going to be interesting, because we've got a new parade route. What I like is that rain or shine or construction,
it's still
Sheridan
happening.
WYO parade's going to happen. And so we'll start on the north end of Brooks, and then head south, and then turn left or east on Work Street, and then go on Gould. And so thanks Century 21, BHJ Realty for that sponsorship, and got the tailgate. Barney and Graham are the sponsors there, and the tailgate, L&H Industrial. Sorry, all you sponsors, don't string me up because I didn't mention everyone. But
and
you know what I'm saying.
The boot kickoff starts things off Tuesday.
Yep.
I can't forget the royalty. I don't want to forget the royalty.
No, you don't.
The royalty contest is before the rodeo.
Yep.
And then they actually introduced the new royalty Saturday night before the rodeo. So you can check out all the information on SheridanWYORodeo.com. There's the schedule. Everything is in there.
You need.
Sheridan Media will also have an Everything Rodeo page up that will have a lot of information on there, videos, pictures. The Sheridan Press prints your official program guide, those should start being out.
Yeah, they're going to be out probably right around the 1st of July, I believe. So that will be available. They've done a really nice job. That's a lot of work.
It is,
and we get to see it prior to. We see a couple drafts of it, and I'm just in awe of how much work that takes. So hats off to them as well. But yeah, we're so fortunate that we live here. And tickets, we're getting close to tickets being sold out. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet, please do so. And please, 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 please go to the Sheridan WYO Rodeo site. If you just Google Sheridan WYO Rodeo tickets, there are third-party vendors that are charging gigantic prices for rodeo tickets, and they're third party, and they're not legit.
I would say some of them you don't even get the ticket.
Right. So please go to the Sheridan WYO Rodeo website, www.SheridanWYORodeo.com, and just click on the tickets tab, and it'll take you to eTix, and you can purchase tickets there. So get them while they're hot.
Yeah. Well, Zane, thanks so much for being on. I appreciate it very much. And let's get WYO'd.
Absolutely. Thank you, Liz. Thanks for having us on.
You bet.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.